Hey everyone, Illusion here. Today I'll be bringing you guys my updated profile for Jewel Knights for March 2022. So let's get straight into it. We're running the Starting Legend Ambrosius as our starter. You can run any of the V Premium starters. I just chose Ambrosius because kind of fits with the aesthetic of Jewel Knights, and it's also a foil. For our grade 3s, we are actually running 4 copies of the new Leading Jewel Knight SALOME. So its skill is, once per turn, at the end of the battle of this unit attack, you can counterblast 1, choose any number of Jewel Knights from your hand, call them onto the field, and then if you call 3 or more and your opponent's Vanguard is at grade 3 or greater, you can Soul Blast 4, restand this unit. So it helps out with filling the board again for multi-attacking during the battle phase, and also the whole second skill just helps you restand, get more drive checks, start on more Jewel Knights from your deck, and just basically just deck them a little bit. And then second skill is when your other units placed on this unit circle, you just counterblast 1. That unit gains 10,000 power and +1 drive. So I mean, if you ride Salome on top of Salome, you have the ability, you have the chance to swing twice during the battle with triple drive. So basically you're getting 6 cards out of your deck. Definitely a really good card. It's also one of the main grade 3 boss units for this deck. Alright, next up for the grade 3s, we are running 4 copies of Pure Heart Jewel Knight Ashley. This is a Jewel Knight deck profile, so you want to be maximizing on the Jewel Knights. Its skill reads on Vanguard rear at the end of the battle of the attack. You get to Soul Blast 2. Search your deck for up to 1 grade 2 or less Jewel Knight. And then call it to the Vanguard circle, shuffle the deck, and then if this the card is on the Vanguard circle, you get to call 2 instead. So again, it's like a backup grade 3, and if you don't get Salome, just being able to call more Jewel Knights onto the field for multi-attacking during the battle phase, it's always really good. And then second skill reads on Vanguard rear. If your other units placed on this unit circle, you do counterblast 1, and that unit gets crit to the end of turn. So it helps out with crit pressure. Definitely, just a must-needed card for the deck. Now running on the grade 2s, we are running 4 copies of Dogmatized Jewel Knight Sybil. So her skill reads on Vanguard rear. When this unit attacks, you can put 1 grade 2 or less card from your hand into the soul, and then you draw a card. So it basically helps with deck thinning, and it gets rid of unwanted cards from your hand, and just fills up your soul, which is really needed for this deck. And also, its second skill reads on Vanguard rear. When your other unit is placed on this unit's circle, you get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 card with the grade 2 or less Jewel Knight from its card name, and then call it to the rearguard circle and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So again, helps out with multi-attacking during the battle phase, and also just helps out fill up a board, which sometimes this deck just struggles with. Next up, we have 4 copies of Explode Jewel Knight Lately. So this card reads for the skill, when it attacks, you put 2 normal units from your drop zone in the bottom of the deck, soul charge 1, and then this unit gets 5,000 parts in the turn. So it helps fill up the soul, and also it just helps refill your deck. That way you don't deck out. I mean, yes, you are putting a card from your deck into the soul, but I mean, it really doesn't matter because you're putting more units on back into the deck. And it's also a second skill on Vanguard rearguard. When your other unit is placed on this unit's circle, that unit gets 10,000 power in the turn. So you can put this on like your Vanguard, and when you ride on grade 3, you can give that Vanguard 10,000 power. Or you put this on the rearguard, you attack with it, and then you call a card over it. You can give that unit 10,000 power until the end of the turn. So it really helps out power up your rear guards or even your Vanguard, mostly because you're not going to be accumulating a lot of force markers with this deck. So you need to find another way to power up your rear guards or even your Vanguard for the turn. And it's also a Jewel Knight, so you need to run 4 copies of it. Next up, we have 3 copies of Absolute Blade Knight Levero. So Levero's skill reads, you can place from hand, you can counterblast 1, call a grade 2 card from your deck onto an open mirror circle, and then if you have no counterblast to use, you can use a Soul Blast instead. So I only really run this card just for early game. This deck has the ability to rush during the early game, and Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. You don't really use this card a lot during like late game scenarios. Other than that, I mean, I would really just use either like a ditch fodder for PGs, or you can use what is it, SALOME skill, or yeah, Sybil skill, sorry, just to put into your soul and then draw a card. So again, I mean, other than that, you know, just for early game, I don't really use this card a lot. However, I mean, you know, when it comes up, it comes up. Next up, we are running 2 copies Diaconnect Dragon. So its skill reads, it's basically Pongle. If you guys don't know what, you know, Pongle is or what this skill is, when it's placed, you have another unit in the same column, you get a soul charge 1, and if you soul charge a trigger, this unit gets 10,000 power. So you're not really doing the soul charge for the 10,000 power. You're really only just using the skill just to fill up your Vanguard soul for your SALOME turns. Again, you know, helps out with the early game. You want to be calling this card off of Lever Row. But other than that, again, it's the same purpose as Lever Row. It's only for early game, and also, you know, if you don't need it anymore, it's either ditch fodder for PGs, or it's basically fodder for a Sybil skill. And so I think, you know, just 2 copies is just fine. Moving on to the grade 1s, we are running 4 copies of Fruiting Jewel Knight Eunice. I love this skill a lot. So its first skill reads, at the end of the battle, this unit boosted, you can put a normal unit from your from your drop zone to the bottom of the deck, soul charge 1, and then you can bounce this unit to hand. Definitely a really great card, better than the other Jewel Knight that we have for the grade 1 slot. And in my personal opinion, it's just, the first effect is just, it's so good. I really love it. And then second skill reads, on Vanguard rearguard circle, when your other unit is placed on this unit circle, you get to choose when your opponent's rearguards in that same column as this place unit, and then retire it. However, if nothing was retired for this effect, you get to draw a card. So this skill is okay if you don't get the retire effect, because the retire effect is mandatory. You can't choose whether or not to retire something or to draw a card or not. However, this card is actually really good for your first grade 1 right turn, because normally your opponent's not going to be putting a rear guard behind their Vanguard, usually, most likely. So you play this for your main grade 1, and then you right into grade 2, you basically get to draw a card. I think it's just a really good card to be using for Jewel Knights. And plus, you know, again, it's a Jewel Knight, so you have to max out on all copies of Jewel Knights. Speaking about Jewel Knights, we are running 4 copies of the Charging Jewel Knight Morvidus. So its skill reads that on rearguard circle, it's an act. Countless 1, put a normal unit from the drop zone to the bottom of your deck. Soul charge 1, and then choose one of your Jewel Knights with its card name with 5. Give it 5,000 power to the end of the turn. I don't really like using this skill a lot, just because, you know, it is a counter blast. You know, it does help out fill the soul a lot. However, again, you're not really going to be using just the counter blast skill a lot. You mainly want to be using this card for its second skill, and that reads, when your other unit is placed on this unit circle, you get to draw a card. So this card could potentially be a main grade 1 right target. However, I mean, other than that, other than the draw skill, you really don't use this card a lot for, like, I mean, anything else. It is another Jewel Knight, so you have to max on copies for that. I just kind of really hope that, you know, if we do get another Jewel Knight, I could probably cut this card down, you know, by like maybe like 2, or maybe bring it down to like to 1 or something. But I mean, other than that, you know, it's still, you know, it's still a good card. Next up, we are running 4 copies of Laurel Knight Sisyphus. So it's the main grade 3 searcher for the deck. You place it on the rearguard circle or Vanguard circle, check top 5, and you get a grade 3, you add it, and then you have to discard a card. And then its second skill reads that during your turn, if you get no face-up cards in your damage zone, this unit gets 5,000 power. So, you know, at times it can be like a 13k beat stick or a 13k booster, which is really awesome for the deck, because this deck doesn't have like a lot of like power-up plays or whatever. It just has a lot of power-up abilities, so just using this card is great. Other than that, you know, it could be, you know, ditch fodder for PGs, fodder for a Sybil skill, but also, you know, this card can help out, you know, search out for your Salomes, your your Heal Guardians, and what's the other card? I totally forgot about it. Your Ashleys. So you definitely need to be maximizing on this card a lot. It helps you out. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much about it. On to the triggers we are running. Let's see if I can get them real quick. We're running a total of 8 crits. So the reason why I'm running 8 crits, I mean, you could run 12 crits. However, you do want to be seeing the draw triggers during your checks to help go through your deck, search for your other Jewel Knights. But I mean, other than that, I mean, this is pretty much just standard for V Premium, just running 8 crits. You can run more. I just prefer running the 8 crits. I don't think you really need, 12. But I mean, and that's my personal opinion. But I mean, I think 8 crits is just fine. And speaking about draw triggers, we are running the 4 Isolt. It's your standard PG, prevents from dying during turns, and also it's a draw trigger, which you definitely need to see during your checks. I mean, that's pretty much about it for that. Lastly, we are running 4 copies of Innocent Ray Dragon. This is your Heal Guardian. Nothing really too much to say about that. It's a heal, so you need to just heal damage from time to time. And it's also, it's like a really good search target for Sysilis. In case, your opponent decides to rush you, you can guard with it, use the skill, and then now they can't rush you anymore, which is, really awesome for the deck. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. So guys, that's it for the deck profile. In my personal opinion, I think this is like one of the better Royal Paladin decks that Vanguard has come up with for V Premium. And in testing, I really enjoy this deck. I think it's fun. I definitely will be taking this to a tournament later. But yeah, I mean, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.